Hey folks, welcome to the channel Let's Do Coding. In last video, we learned about arrays and its methods to manipulate arrays in JavaScript. Now it's time to have a look at another complex data structure that can contain more than one value, objects. Well, we know that arrays are also objects with special property. Arrays are objects with index properties. All the other objects are with name properties. We learned about arrays in last video, and if we check the type of array, it turns out to be an object. As you can see, the type of array is object. Objects are similar to real world objects. Objects have properties and they can perform action using methods. I'll explain about the properties only, and when we will move to videos on functions, we will cover methods in details. An object is a group of variables tied into one variable. This is done with curly braces. For example, let's define an object called dog. So we created a dog variable and we assigned this object as value. We can recognize that this is an object as we use the curly braces to define the object. We can access the properties of this object in a very similar way as we would with array. This time, instead of using the index number, we will use the name of the property. As you can see, just like array, in array we were using the index number. Here we use the property name as index, and you can see in the dog object when I'm looking for a property called color, I get brown back. There is another way to do this. Instead of square brackets, we use the property name by adding it to the object name with a dot in between. Let's see. As you can see, we have printed the property of dog color using the dot notation. To update the value of the properties of the objects, we can do that in two ways. We can either use the index number or we can use the dot notation with property to update the value of the properties on the object. Here, I'm changing the value of color of dog from brown to blue, and I'm also increasing its weight from 2.4 to 4.5. As I expand the dog object, you can see the weight has changed, so is color. This changed the properties of our dog object. The color got updated to blue and the new weight is a bit higher than the old one. We can even create object containing object as property value. Let's say we want to have a company object. This company will have an address. An address is another object. If we give our company an address, we are using an object inside an object. Let's see. As we see, our company has an address object with values. This can go very many levels deep if needed. To access or modify one of the properties of the address, we can use two approaches. We can either use dot notation to update the property value, Or we can use the property name to access the number in the address object and change it. This is very similar to array. We first select the address object within company object, change its property by accessing it by the property name. Now let's see if we can add arrays in the objects. Let's say our company might have a range of activities instead of one. We can simply replace the activity from our previous example with an array. So we now used an array in our company object. Retrieving the individual values is very similar. The second value of the activities array can be fetched by writing as you can see, by using the array notation and the index number, we can retrieve the second activity from the company object. Here we call the company object and then the relevant array activities, and then using the index position of the variable we are looking for within the array, which is 1. Like the previous example where we used array inside the company object, we can even use objects inside the array. Sounds confusing? Let me clear it with an example. So the array can be recognized by square brackets, an object by curly brackets. To access the street name of the first object, we can write let street name equals to address of 0.street. As you can see, we got the street name of the first address. Similarly, we can find the zip code of the second address. Let's get more complicated by creating object in array, which is inside object. Let's update our company object, which we created previously, by adding the array of address we created right now. To access elements of increasingly nested objects and arrays, we simply extend the same logic we used previously. For example, to access the street name of the Healthy Eats company, we would write street name equals to company.address of 0.street. As you can see, we got the street name of the first address in the company object. I think we have enough on objects in this video. I hope you folks like the video and stay tuned for the next videos coming soon. Thank you.